Anyone who's been watching my channel for a while knows that I've been following COD Mobile esports for a really long time, and in that time have seen some of the best players that COD Mobile has ever seen. And all that time I never really felt like I should make a top 10 players of all time for COD Mobile because we had never had a global LAN. But now that we've passed stage 5 of 2022, we have a much better idea of how the regions stack up against each other. It feels like I've landed on a pretty solid top 10. But if you guys disagree, let me know down in the comments and we'll hop in the action. Despite India's struggles in stage 5 of the World Championships the past couple of years, I felt like at least one player from that godlike roster deserved a spot here because of how dominant they've been in the Indian region, winning every single stage 4 up till now. I feel like Trunks is the player who's had the most consistent performance, especially in the stage 5 of the World Championships, which is the reason why he's coming in at our number 10 spot. With more than $45,000 in career earnings, naturally Trunks has seen a lot of first place, and it's really only India's struggles in stage 5 of the World Championships that's holding him back from being higher on this list. I will say a couple games go a different direction, and there's a chance they actually end up making playoffs in 2021, but unfortunately they did not come out over top of DG in their final matchup and ended up missing the playoffs by just one match. With that being said, Godlike look very strong in the Indian region once again, and there's a very good chance that they will once again find themselves in stage 5 of the World Championships. Coming in at number 9, a lot of you will recognize him from his ridiculous clutches in stage 5 of 2022. Mihawk has led the way as one of the top players on that skate roster and now continues to be in a leading role in the 2023 Galoris team that currently sits undefeated in LATAM stage 4 at 7-0. Currently, I would rank the team more than likely top 5 in the world. They are ridiculously talented, and he's a big reason for that. A major reason that he's not higher on this list is because his career earnings don't quite match up with a lot of the other players. At $30,000, he's definitely the lowest on the list. Unfortunately, the Godsent roster that he was on in 2021 didn't quite live up to expectations, but now that he's got a better group of players surrounding him, there is absolutely a chance that he will continue to thrive and show out in stage 5 of 2023. Coming in at number 8, we have the highest earning player in European COD Mobile history. A talented sniper and a flexible leader, Narks takes the spot with over $74,000 in career earnings. For people who don't follow the competitive scene as closely, you may also recognize him as the player that won Ferg's $10,000 Sniper 1v1. Fun fact, Narks has actually never finished outside of the top 2 in European stage 4. While obviously Europe hasn't exactly been dominant in stage 5 of the World Championships, there's no other player on this list who has seen the success that Narks has across multiple different iterations of rosters and representing multiple different organizations. He's also shown his flexibility, switching from a sniper role in Search and Destroy over to more of an SMG dominant role, and being on the first seeded Animus team in European stage 4, expect that he will continue to show out. Coming in at number 7, we have who I would say is by far the most consistent player across all the years that we've seen in China competitive. Even though they've struggled to crack the top 3 in stage 5, there's no question one of the Wolves players deserves to have a spot on this list, and for me, Anzai has been the most consistent of the group. Winning China Masters 4 MVP leading up to 2022 stage 5, he played a major role on the team that was actually the only team that was able to take a series off of Tribe, who ended up becoming the world champs. He's also continued his dominance in China Masters 5, with Wolves winning once again, and right now it looks like they're set up perfectly to find another China Masters championship, with DYG losing 2 of their top players. At only 19 years of age, already having $66,000 in earnings is not too shabby. Coming up at number 6, we have one of the winningest players in COD Mobile history, actually only number 2, and one of only 2 players to win 2 stage 5s. Marshy has absolutely been an X factor on every one of the Tribe teams that he's played on, with them winning 2021 Masters, struggling in 2021 stage 4 but bouncing back for a dominant win in the Western Finals, and then following it up with a ridiculous finals run in 2022. The main reason Marshy's not higher on this list is because he's never been one of the most dominant players on any of the rosters that he's been on. He absolutely plays a crucial role, is a phenomenal SMG, and a great OBJ player. With over $184,000 in career earnings, there's no question he's one of the GOATs of COD Mobile. Coming in at number 5, maybe the most individually talented player on this list, Luka Zinovinko Gaming has taken the COD Mobile competitive scene by storm as one of the most ridiculously talented ARs in the game. Dropping 50 bomb after 50 bomb in the World Championships, he was surprising a lot of people, and a lot of them assumed that once the SKS got banned that he wouldn't have that same level of dominance, but that was most certainly not the case. No question he's been on that same level, actually dropping a 60 bomb on a 2 KD up against TLE in the most recent LATAM qualifiers. His dominance dominance has continued, but hasn't quite had the supporting cast to be able to maintain a top spot. To be honest, longevity is the only reason that he's not higher on this list, with 2022 being the first real splash that he made in the COD Mobile competitive scene. Due to the fact that he didn't even join COD Mobile competitive until very late in 2021, he just hasn't had enough opportunities to move himself up further on the list with $37,000 in career earnings. Coming in at number 4 is a player that I would argue is the most consistent player in Garena COD Mobile history, and a player that I am very sad that we're not going to see in this year's World Championships. Heaven is a player who has continually remained at the top of the Garena competition, arguably the most competitive region in the world. The highlight performance for him was the 2021 Eastern Championships, where he led Almighty to a number 2 overall spot. In those championships, he had some of the most ridiculous search and destroy carries I have ever seen, and his sniper battles up against Unlucky from Vox was definitely one of the most memorable head-to-head matchups we've ever seen in COD Mobile. But for me, Heaven's consistency throughout the past 4 years as one of the most dominant slayers, if not the most dominant slayer in Garena history, has absolutely earned him a spot in the top 4 with over $54,000 in career earnings. Coming in at number 3, we have the winningest player in COD Mobile history, the only player to surpass $200,000 in career earnings at exactly $211,000. Balu has been a staple in COD Mobile competitive since its very beginnings. A lot of people might see him at 3rd place on the list and actually be surprised that he's not higher, and while you do have to give him a ton of credit for his role as an IGL in earlier years for that tribe roster, I would definitely say that for both him and Marshy, a lot of their success has been predicated on the fact that Tribe for many years was the only organization with any major funding, and because of that, they have always had some of the best players in the world surrounding them. But were he to return to a starting role for that Tribe Gaming roster this year and they end up winning a championship, there's absolutely no question he would move into the number 1 spot. Coming in at number 2, we have a player who has been widely regarded as the best SMG player in the world for back-to-back years. He won a Stage 5 championship in 2021 on top of being the MVP in that year. Band quickly rose to the top despite not being one of the players that was on one of the early Tribe rosters. Most of you probably don't even remember, but he was actually on the Strike Zone roster that got absolutely steamrolled in 2020 champs. But hard work paid off for him as he gained an opportunity to join Tribe in 2021 and made the most of it, winning the MVP in that year. As one of the nastiest slayers in COD Mobile who is very difficult to deal with, there are very few players who would say Band is not one of the most talented players in the game, and he's got the resume to back it up. With $113,000 in career earnings, obviously he doesn't quite have the numbers to match up to Balu, but his individual dominance absolutely catapults him up into this number 2 spot where he's absolutely deserving. And last but certainly not least, pretty much every single coach, player, and commentator that I talk to agree that this is the number 1 player in COD Mobile history. He's been the best player on just about every team that he's ever been on and continues to dominate the competitive scene, putting up ridiculous numbers and consistently posting a 2KD tectonic. In my opinion, is the greatest COD Mobile player of all time. Unfortunately, due to the roster that he was on in 2021, he doesn't quite have this same amount of earnings as Balu, but $166,000 is nothing to scoff at. On top of that, he was the undisputed MVP of 2020 champs, far and away the best player on that 2021 NYSLM team that was only 1 match away from making it to playoffs, and most people would argue the number 1 player on the 2022 championship Tribe team as well. There's no one in COD Mobile who has had the same level of individual dominance, and that has continued into 2023, where he's led that Luminosity roster to the number 1 seed in North America. He's widely considered the number 1 main AR in the world, only really contested by Lukazen at this point, but as far as his former teammates, I've never talked to anybody that has played with him previously who didn't want to play with him again in the following year. On top of his talent, he's a great guy and a phenomenal leader as well, and that's why he is the greatest COD Mobile player of all time.